everybody, and we're back again for another AIGV podcast, Adventures in Gonzo Vision. This is capturing in the moment, living the adventure, and with no script or plan. And that's how we're doing this podcast this morning, James. How are you?
I am brilliant, thank you, Liam. And yourself?
I'm fantastic. Here in the Office of Tree Spirits, the sun is shining. Well, it's not really, because this is just a background that I've got. It's actually very cloudy, just the same as where you are, not far up the road. But I see you're in your van at this point. What? How is the van going? Have you got the heater going in it? Have you been on any adventures in it yet? How is it going?
So I've not got the heater in currently, and because the guy that's hopefully going to put it in, he's very busy at the moment, and I've been still going a little bit of day trips in it, but I've not been in a big adventure since the 6-week Cornwall Devon adventure that I was on last month. But I'm planning the big Europe one, and that's what I'm doing with at the moment, getting stuff ready.
Awesome. It's like walkabout time, isn't it? The original people have this idea of the walkabout, going on the journey to find our true selves. Know thyself, I suppose, is what it's all about. And in terms of any sort of cold swimming in the lakes of Coniston itself, you used to go there. Are you still doing any of that?
Yeah, we did one the other week. We did it. It's not Coniston. It was not Rydal, the one that Grasmere. We went to Grasmere. So it was about I think it was about 4 or 5 degrees outside of the lake. So it's pretty cold inside the lake, but I managed a good 5 minutes inside the lake, proper swim.
Wow.
And then the body started to get a bit number. So we had to come out. 5 minutes is the top that I probably could manage that day.
Oh, that's brilliant. I mean, basically, if you go over 2 minutes in a cold shower, excuse me, I've got a bit of a frog in my throat. But if you go over 2 minutes in a cold shower or in the lake, as you were, I'm not sure the difference in the temperature, but it's usually pretty cold. If you go over 2 minutes, your blood pressure actually lowers. It's very good for the heart, apparently. This is one of the reasons why I'm actually doing that. Every morning, I always have a cold shower, and it assists in the ketogenic process of the body, where I forget the actual science of it, but it's like it helps to lose weight. It helps to lose weight at the same time, but it also just keeps the blood sugar level down, or the blood pressure, not the blood sugar, the blood pressure down. So it's a very healthy thing. Where did you learn about something like that?
I think I've always just felt into it. I never really actually researched into cold water swimming or anything. I've always just loved feeling invigorated. Then obviously you came across stuff like Wim Hof, which I don't really look at too much, stuff like that. But I just feel good, and that's all I go off, really.
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean that's the ultimate teaching is our experience, isn't it? And one of the things that we talked about last time was water, and that's where the subject matter I'm doing at the moment, because I went on a journey to go and look for the sacred spring in Liverpool Cathedral, and I've been drinking the water ever since. And also these cold showers, I kind of have a moment of humility in the cold shower, and it really helps with meditation. But also drinking this sacred water, there's like a whole different experience with myself now, and a relationship to water. Have you been drinking from these waters all the time? How long have you been drinking from your spring?
So from the Great Budworth is the spring where I get my water from currently. So we do a hour trip with the family or with my neighbour. We go, and my friend, we go to collect this water, and we all bottle it up, and it lasts us a couple of weeks. So we've been drinking that for about 5 months, I think, because when we first found that spring. So it's been a good amount of time. It was in the summertime when we found it.
Wow. Okay. Because what I've noticed is when the water goes down, I have to go and get some more. I can't switch to any bottled water or tap water, even though it's filtered. We usually filter the water, but I just feel like, it's an hour for me to travel to Liverpool Cathedral on the motorbike, and then I've got to strap it to the back. And
you've got the back. Well, it's harder here.
Yeah, there's something special about it. Like I'm riding on my horse to the sacred spring, through the city streets to get this sacred water. And as soon as the water goes down, I've got to go and do it again. No matter the weather, I've got to go and get this water. Is that the kind of feeling you get as well, as though like there's something special about this water? Like there's I don't want to say, but it's like the spirit of the earth is in this water. It's just, that's my imagination. What do you think?
No, it's definitely not your imagination, because I was laughing because I've run out now, and I need to go. I need to go and get some more. But I'm a bit busy the next few days, so I'll have to wait for another like 3 days. I'll have to buy a bottled water, and I hate buying water. I just hate buying it, because we shouldn't be buying an element. You know,
we shouldn't be buying water. You know.
No. And
I mean,
obviously it's better than drinking from the tap, but that's why it's horrible to buy water, in my opinion. It's just against my principles.
And these sacred springs, they used to be everywhere, didn't they? They, like the town that I'm in at the moment, I believe I think you mentioned there was like 3 that should be in this town, but they've all been capped. They've all been switched off over time. What do you think about that? Why has that kind of happened?
So they're still running, but they'll be running underneath where they've been buried, and the access point has been shut off. So they're being buried for multiple of reasons. In my opinion, they've started to get destroyed in around the late 1800s. So
right.
Prior to that, there was a lot of fountains in the streets, in the cities, all over the world. And I want to talk about Britain in particular, because that's where I've done most of the research. But
right.
Every city I've been to, be it Glasgow, Edinburgh, Preston, anywhere you can think of, there's these huge wells in the city centre, and there's not just one, there's loads. So these cities are built around where the water would be at its most potent. So these wells now have been shut off, and I wouldn't be able to tell where the water is now going, because the city is being built upon the water source. So the old world harnessed that in these structures, but now the structures are shut off. There's no way of accessing the water in the cities, and they've done this because they want to then obviously divert our attention to the falsities of water, and then you can bring in the tap water and the chemicals in that, sell us bottled water, and take away our spiritual connection to the all-giving life force of the elements of water. And that's what they've done.
And that's what it feels like. I mean, the water that I'm drinking from the Liverpool Cathedral and St. James's Park, funny enough, it's St. James's Park,
Yes.
Yeah. And it's got like iron ore salts in it, is what it says. That's like a medicinal property. So I'm just drinking it all the time. It's been about 3 weeks now, and I really feel uplifted, motivated, focused. I don't know if that's the same. I can't know for sure, but that's, in my opinion, it feels like my life is certainly uplifted.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And in terms of how long you've been drinking it for, say 5 months, you say you've been drinking it for.
Yeah.
Did you feel a noticeable difference in just how you were living your life during the day, basically?
I do, not in terms of how I'm living, but I do feel, since I've drank that water, a more constant energy. So it's not just to do with the water, it's to do with the way you live in general. But this day to day, and as a man, it's different to a woman, because women's energy fluctuates depending on the cycles. But for men, my energy is more or less the same each day. So I've not felt under the weather like all year. And the only thing that makes me feel a little bit under the weather is when stresses get to you and you start putting you down a little bit. But the water and obviously the principles of life, which is the water, which is the good whole foods, which is your thoughts, which is your exercise, which is your connection to source, your grounding barefoot, your sunlight exposure, your sleep quality, all of this comes towards a balanced, healthy life.
Definitely. I mean, that definitely makes sense. All those factors in balance, and in terms of when you started to look at life in this kind of perspective, was it recently, or was it quite some time? Have you always just been like looking to keep everything in balance in that way, or just paying attention to it? I mean, how would you go about your approach to keeping everything balanced?
So I've always been into health, mainly growing up with my mum, who has always been into holistic health. But ever since, I'd say 2020, that's when I started studying into the full aspect of it and how I can better myself each day. So I looked into my whole life, thinking, where can I improve? And that 2020 is where I thought, right, I need to embody these essentials every day. So I need to making sure I get a bit of each essential. And the essentials are what I just mentioned, like the foods, the sunlight, the barefoot walking, the water. I'm trying to incorporate all that every day. And this is my perspective on how to be balanced. It's not being obsessive about it, but it's making sure you get parts of these essentials in a daily practice. Because for me, without them, life isn't life. That is life for me. To feel optimally alive in my body, I need these essentials. These are the things that I need. These are that medicine. This is medicine. People think that you go to the shop to get medicine. No, this is medicine.
Definitely, definitely. So you obviously do exercise on a regular weekly basis, I suppose, or do you do it like every day? Do you do exercise?
Daily, I do a lot of walking, and I do an hour gym session, 45 minutes to an hour gym
Right.
session, weights or calisthenics, body weight training, and sometimes sprints. I'll train. So I do gym daily, but I'll do a designated sprint session at the moment. I'm trying to incorporate that once a week.
And I know you feed yourself from Manic Organic, so all the food that you're getting is pure and organic and natural, and no preservatives and no GM products, and vital for the body itself. How often do you go to Manic? Do you get all your food from there all the time?
So I've not been getting it all the time. Once a week we try and go, and but prior to when I was traveling, obviously I've been traveling a lot in the last 6 weeks, and before that my van was like it was not drivable in certain weeks. I had to get things fixed, so I couldn't always go to Manic Organic, but
Right.
I'll try to. So at the moment I am trying to go once a week, so I'll get all my vegetables from there, all my fruit for the family, and
Right.
then I will get my meat from an organic grass-fed area, and then I'll get my fish from a fresh fishman and my water from the spring. And so we get our raw milk from another raw milk farm. So
Right.
we'll get our produce from separate places, which is a bit more time consuming, but I believe it is absolutely necessary if you're going to be functioning in the best possible way.
Absolutely, because if we live by this idea of convenience where we can just access things just down the street, but it does produce this kind of apathy in society, I feel, but if we're traveling to go and meet and greet someone to get a specific pasteurized or unpasteurized milk, or organic grass-fed meat at a farm maybe an hour away, the adventure makes that experience and the taste of it even have a better flavor. Because I find the water, when I go and get my water like this, it has a different flavor. When I'm cooking my organic food, and I've put attention into going to get it, and it's like a mission. It's not just sleep shopping. There's this thing where if you go into supermarkets, most people are what the advertisers and campaigners, marketers, they say it's called sleep shopping. And I know this because I was involved in a campaign dressed as a gorilla, and I walked into a supermarket, and they were taking pictures, and they were doing a study to see whether people would pay attention to a gorilla getting his bananas, right? And I was the gorilla, and it was for a certain supermarket brand and a certain famous chef who were combining this recipe idea and mixing up the shelves, because people, and the campaign was because people would sleep shop and they would just buy things automatically. But if this person had a certain recipe that could mix up the shelves a bit, then this would disperse this kind of sleep apathy or shopping apathy of just buying the butter and not looking at different shelves.
Yeah, but you know exactly what aisle every week to, and
exactly.
Pilot.
So
Yeah.
it made me think, right? Yeah, people are. When we go shopping, when we go and get things, when we go and do things, how many times are we asleep doing it? Are we daydreaming while we do it? Because it's kind of so automatic, you know.
Yeah.
But when I go and get my water, there's nothing automatic about it. I've got to think about the weather. I've got to think about how to get this trolley up the stairs, strap it. How long am I going to be? Because I've got a certain amount of time. There's this adventure that I love to go on, you know.
Conscious living.
Yes, it's conscious being in the moment, you know. And so I think that's what you know, is the exciting thing about, you know, looking for the local farms who are doing food in a different way to the supermarkets. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think that at the moment, because we need to take advantage, I mean, take responsibility for our own health. So we have to, there's always going to be an opportunity. There's always going to be a choice. You've always got a choice. You might have to travel further. You may have to do the journey a bit harder like you do on your bike, but it's worth it once you've done it. It's like you say, easy, accessible. All of this is how they take advantage of us. They make the society as lazy as possible, and as they don't have any awareness or consciousness when they're shopping. So they're just grabbing something from the shelf and putting it in the cart without reading the 30 different ingredients that are in that. So if I want to buy a cake, I want it to have butter, I want it to have flour, and I want it to have, a little bit of sugar, 3 ingredients. But what about the cakes that have 30 to 40 different ingredients in it? They've got about 10 E numbers. It's ridiculous. The less ingredients, the better. Well, the point is anyway to just get whole foods that just have 1 ingredient. So you buy a broccoli, all it's got is broccoli in it.
I know,
So they can
right?
cook the ingredients together to make a dinner rather than having something with 20 ingredients.
But also, I think the biggest thing with it is that, you know, a lot of the food we're getting is not from where we live. It's not a local source of food. And that really changes a lot of factors into, you know, getting, you know, a connection to the food that we're actually, you know, consuming. You know, if it's, you know, vegetables and fruits that are coming from imported from other countries, it's like when we grow some of the best apples, you know, in England, but we've got apples coming from another part of the world. It just doesn't make sense to me when every garden should have an apple tree, you know, and a hammock as well, you know, just like the office of tree spirits.
In the cities.
And in the towns.
Apple trees, fruit trees.
Right. I mean, you know, I've got a love for the idea of permaculture and, you know, fascination for it really. And I came across a chap called Jeff Lawton in Australia who was designing food forests.
Yeah.
Okay. And this idea of food forest is really, it's merged with this permaculture design perspective, but it's utilizing the earth, the environment, the trees, the winds, the slopes of the mountains or the grounds, the nearest water source, and then utilizing that to how nature would grow naturally. So, you know, mushrooms would be in the shade, tomatoes would be in the sun, but you don't need to chop everything down to start growing. You can grow everything within these forests. And a 2,000-year-old forest in Morocco was which he found, and it's on YouTube, had pretty much everything, about 60% for what the local villagers were eating.
Right.
You know, what do you think about that? Sorry?
Whereabouts in Morocco?
I'm not sure. I've got the YouTube video. I will link it below. It's just, if you just go 2,000-year-old forest in Morocco, Jeff Lawton, I think it's Lawton is his second name, but he's an Australian famous permaculture designer. And I mean, he's doing so much with food forests around the world at the moment. And, you know, my idea, ever since I started watching that, was like, why don't we build our towns with nature incorporated? Why is it not that our local food sources are not supported rather than heavily taxed or, you know, bought out by big conglomerates? Why are we not supporting our local areas? Because really, that's where we should be beginning. you
It
know,
is.
and
Yeah.
developing and creating those fundamentals, our connection with our very close society at first, you know, so that we can draw upon the resources and utilize just the logistics of the area, you know.
Yeah.
What do you think to that?
Yeah, because it's something that I'm getting into as well, permaculture. I've been wanting to get into for a long time. So the aim is to actually, when I go to Europe, to find these permaculture places, and I've got one in mind in Portugal to study
Right.
this and because we need to go back to basics. So we first need to regain our communication and our relationship with the soil. So
Right.
without the soil, there's nothing. The soil is life. We come from the soil, so everything comes from the soil, and that's where the life is, the nutrients are, everything is in the soil, working together with with Father Sky, the sun, and it's the balance of both. So this is why we've lost our connection, because of concrete jungle. We've lost our connection to the soil. We've covered over the soil, and we've covered our feet with shoes. So we've disconnected ourselves from the electromagnetic field of the earth, and we've covered it over with concrete. So we've disconnected ourselves with our mother. So it's like taking a child away from its mother, and it's grown up in adoption with someone that doesn't care about it. That's what it's like.
Wow. That's, yeah. Wow. That makes a lot of sense. I love that metaphor. Fantastic. Because that's what it can feel like at times, you know, that, you know, we're not connected to an energy. You know, when I was out in the fields with Manic Organic back in 2009, we were picking potatoes. I was just giving them some help. It was great just to be out there, and I did it barefoot with no gloves on, just picking the potatoes and, you know, running around barefoot. And I always thought, I just had that moment of just, let me try it barefoot. And from there, I was like, wow, this is really cool. I could do
Yeah.
this. And I think that's what is missing as well. Is not just, you know, growing in our back garden, but actually having a relationship, you know, with being barefoot and having, you know, hands free to dig into the soil, and that connection with the energy of the soil.
Yeah.
And then watching it over the whole year to see how we get nutrients back into it by, you know, ideas of, you know, not, is it fertilizer? You put fertilizer into it, like manure, things like that, but how you can do it organically, you know. I mean, I think that whole process is fantastic, and how we are kind of missing that, you know, where maybe 50 to 100 years ago, people were pretty much living like that, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in many parts of the world, a lot of people are still living like that, you know. But certainly in the environment that I'm in, you know, it's less and less. You know, people have allotments, and a lot of people really love their gardens and stuff. But you know, when you look at the town that you live in, and you see how much is being invested into new supermarket car parks, you know, sort of big areas where there's like a cinema and a shopping stall and everything. And I used to look at this area 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and go, you know, a food forest right here would be amazing, you
It
know.
was.
And I even had, I sort of had this idea to address the council with this idea of, look, this space, I know you're going to use it for a supermarket complex of some kind, but how about we plant a whole bunch of pine trees and apple trees, and let's investigate what are the best trees for the environment. Let's get volunteers, children involved, planting, and develop in 15 years time, it could be a place where we get our apples from. If it's just apples, then great. Obviously there's no
To do.
huge profit.
Approach them. We need to approach them. We need to take action.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. At the end of the day, it's not just a case of, you know, writing a letter to the council. It's realizing that there's a huge entity of sort of machine systematic ideology, really, that we're also not really got much of a say in, you know. So it's how to get something like that suggested. It takes a huge commitment, you know. You can't just
people. It needs a lot of people on that same awareness, because we need a mass movement, really, in terms of people just wanting to take their power back. We own the land. You know, we are the land. They don't own the land. They think they do, but they don't.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's there's a lot of folk who are studying that sort of legal concepts. You know, it is aware there is a subject, a massive discussion going on with that, and there is a lot of discussion with quite a few folk that I've heard from and listened to podcasts and other social media opportunities. There's not a lot in the mainstream discussing it. There's obviously completely different topics, which is just, there's no judgment, and everyone is really in this place of just surviving at the end of the day, because there's so many pressures from so many areas. But to have our farms pressured in this way, where there's a big discussion going on with that, I just feel what maybe is needed is the people to connect with the farms first, get to know the land, get out there a lot more often, switch off the multimedia, embrace the weather. If it's raining and hailing, brilliant. That's even more of a wonderful challenge to engage with, and see, can you go for a walk to the forest or up a mountain with the dogs or the kids, rather than making that choice to, binge on soap operas or something. Now, at the same time, a lot of people might only have a few hours to relax. Not everyone has the time to do it. So, trying to find that balance, James, how do you approach this kind of attitude when you get all those balanced areas sort of, done during the week? How would you go about it?
So I think that what's most important, what I'm trying to practice myself, is to get your priorities straight. So you need to get what matters. So if you don't know what matters to yourself, then you're going to be controlled by external circumstances and forces. But if you get your internal world straight first, you're going to be the creator. So we first need to understand that the external world is a manifestation and a mirror of our internal world. So if we get our awareness firstly on what matters. So for me, health is number one, always number one. Health and family and love and truth and following my heart, they are always number one. So my day will evolve around that first. So I've come to a situation now where, for example, I feel like it's important to talk about, but in this past year, I've been working at a garden centre and to save up for this dream of living in a van. And it served me at the start because I learned a lot about the plants and I learned a lot about the soil even. But recently, well, not just recently, a couple of years ago, it started to feel uneasy. It started to feel not right to be doing that. Because I just saw the destruction of modern horticulture, and they were really destroying the soil with the fertilizers, the artificial fertilizers, the plastic, growing plants without love, growing plants robotically. And at the start of this year, I had 2 weeks at a nursery before I went to the one that I was at, which was better. But the other one was a nursery that was growing plants so robotically and so boring, with chemicals spraying all the time. And I was like, that was the first time this year I got ill. I actually got ill. And
Really?
whilst I was sleeping in a subconscious state, my body said, don't do this. You can't do this. Do get a part-time job instead. It's not worth it. The voice came to me. And so I left. I just had to leave because it wasn't in alignment with my life. So I realized now that there's no point doing anything that's not in alignment with your life. It will only lead to the victim mentality, first of all, because it's allowing you, it's the victim, you're playing the victim if you're giving power to the external world, when you've always got the choice. You've always got the choice. It may be harder in the moment, but you've always got the choice. I know there's people with bills and mortgages and things like that, but at the end of the day, that has only happened because of their choice. So the only way is to understand it, to feel that problems in the moment, but to think of solutions and to think that you are the solution instead of relying on the external world to fix everything for you, because it won't happen. That's how they control you. So this is what's happened when I had to leave that job, and then I got the signs and the omens from the universe to go to my next job, which was a lot more aligned, to save me for then getting the van, which has led me to this place now where I've just come back from the adventure and now preparing to go towards a more aligned world that I've done the internal work to create.
Great wisdom there, James. I'm really impressed. That's exactly, there's I can relate exactly what you just said then, and everything to do with, a lot of us are in this, or we can fall into this kind of victim mentality where, they are not supporting us properly, or they should be doing this, or they are conspiring against us, or they are creating wars over there. We can get really caught up in that, and it is giving our power away. You're 100% correct. In terms of understanding energy or understanding energy, that as a Reiki practitioner, which I've done, I can recognize how giving away energy, giving away our power, what it actually feels like, because you become aware to what energy is and what it feels like, and when you are buzzing and when you're at a low vibration. But then giving it away, because we're seeing it from that kind of victim perspective, that a lot of people, we've all been through trauma, we've all got a lot of trauma to deal with, and there's a big topic into why someone is in the victim, and also we're not living their experience as well. But at the same time, to shift from that victim into a reflective perspective is the next step from that, in terms of the process. So you said it right, in terms of going within and looking at the choice. How do we make the choice? Forgiving ourselves for making that choice. Moving on. What's the lesson for making that choice? Why did we make that choice? And what is the pain that created that choice? Because there's usually, we follow the source of where that decision came from, or whatever it was. There's a trauma there. There's something, and we're hiding from it, really, by then blaming and projecting from the victim. But if we do that process of going within, reflecting, and then looking at ourselves from an observing perspective, looking at our thoughts, looking at why we're coming up with these perspectives, it's a very deep topic. It could take a long time to really get there. This next process after reflection is then this idea of responsibility, being responsible for the choices that we make. We're taking responsibility, and it's a complete transformation, a complete different perspective. And I think that's what, we're discussing here. That's what you highlighted. And that's what the sort of message would be, is to take that responsibility to, which a lot of people are doing. A lot of people are making that decision to say, no, I'm going to go to a local farm shop and get my eggs from there, get my milk from there, not, support this. Or I'm going to choose to go on a hike. A lot of people are, I'd say, waking up, to what we're talking about here, to the idea that, maybe we, the concrete on the floor, maybe we need to be walking barefoot on the grass somewhere, instead of walking with shoes on the concrete, and just paying attention to the trees in the city, So I really, appreciate what you just said. Then it's balanced with everything that I personally have come up with, understanding or understanding, with the world we live in, and moving forward, and solutions at the end of the day. What are the solutions to what's going on around us? And it comes back, and it took me a long time, about 20 years, or about 15 years, to sort of realize that, it all comes back to being responsible. And if we want the external world to change, what are we doing to change first? Because you can't expect the external to change without that internal change. And then that's what you were saying, transform, alchemize that internal experience about what's going on and why. And it's a deep subject. It's not something you could just highlight in a podcast, but you can refer to that adventure that internal adventure, and then become responsible.
Because we're the co-creators. We're the co-creators with life. So I mean, you're breathing life, but life is breathing you. So you're looking in the mirror, and the mirror is looking at you.
Very good, very good. There's always this finger. I don't know if you can see, but if you're pointing the finger at someone, there's always 3 fingers pointing back at you. You know, there's something we always picks up on. But also, you mentioned this idea of that the environment itself is actually a reflection of us. I mean, that's another deep aspect of thinking or perceiving, and I sort of I would agree with that. You know, well, how you feel inside is usually how the outside works. You know, so would you agree with that?
Yeah. So at the moment, if we see it from a bigger perspective, the external world is a manifestation of our collective consciousness. So our collective internal. But if we look at our own individual lives, our own individual ways of seeing the external is there to show us our internal world. So for example, if we need to work on something, then it will show us in our external world. And I've used my van journey in the process of building the van as a mirror for myself. So I've realized that what I needed to trust, what I needed to improve on, and everything that went wrong, it was horrible. I have to admit, it was horrible. In the moment, you're like, why has this happened? But only afterwards, in that reflective period that you talked about, do you realize that is a reflection, and it's there to teach you something. And that's what I've put in a film that I'm going to bring out at the weekend. It will probably be out by the time we actually put this on the YouTube, so if people will be able to see that. It's probably one of the best films I've created on my whole van life journey and process, and exactly what I have experienced during that process.
Brilliant. Oh, I certainly look forward to that. That's really good, you know, because that's, you know, that's what I get from the videos that you make is like capturing the moments, the adventure, the steps you're taking along this adventure to, you know, be on the road and discover yourself, to know thyself, you know. And what a great time to be doing it in your life. You know, I wish I had done that from the beginning, you know, but at the end of the day, everyone's journey, you know, is exactly where it should be,
yeah.
You know, at the end of the day. So you know, I really enjoy looking at your videos, and I look forward to the next one. Is there anything that you're planning for ahead now in the short future? Are you going on a trip at all? I know you and I are going to be doing a video at some point with Winter Hill and looking at the zodiacs, just waiting for the right weather. And is there anything else that you might be doing just to do some visits at all?
Yeah, I'm thinking of, obviously, right now I'm thinking of planning, we're going to do the Winter Hill trip, and I may end up spending a few days up there, and because I don't need to go home, I've got my house.
Right.
And then maybe spend a little bit of time before I go to Europe in the Lake District, maybe on the Scottish borders, and just to have a bit of a explore around there. Probably need to get the heater in. Maybe I don't. Maybe it'll be mild. Get a mild period like it is now. It's quite mild.
Yeah.
Then I'm planning doing the big one. And right now, rationally, this is what the film is all about. Well, it's all about. I didn't actually mention, but rationally, I'm not ready to go. But my heart is. So I'm going to make it happen.
Right. That's, you know, sometimes that's the best guidance, you know, because, you know, moving ahead, when it says you're ready, well, what are you ready for? You don't know what's coming. So if you just go, the experience will show you what you need. You know, this is what I find. So I'm all for that. And wow, are you going up to, what's the area where King Arthur fought his battles up there against the Saxons? There was a mountain that I mentioned to you a while back. Are you going anywhere near there?
Yeah, I'm going to probably head through there because it's on the way to where I'm like going to explore. So that is the areas around Castle Rig and Blencathra.
Blencathra.
The closest village is Threlkeld, and that's a mountain I'm probably going to climb. I don't know about in the winter because it's odd, the weather sometimes, but Blencathra is one of the biggest mountains around their area, and it's the mountain where the legends claim that the 2 dragons are sleeping underneath.
Oh, really? The dragons? Wow. Now I'm currently doing a video at the moment exploring that idea of the energy, earth energy dragon lines, which geomancers would refer to, the ancient Chinese geomancers. But I don't want to give away too much. I'm going to leave that for the actual episodes because it takes a long time to make these videos, and I will address that. But in terms of that story, and And is that related to King Arthur? Do you know anything about King Arthur being up there at all?
I know that he's the legends always speak of Arthur at the north, and the battles are always recorded around our area, which I do a lot of films of Martin Mere and the areas around Rufford. But the energy in terms of ley lines, I've come to the understanding that it's very powerful, the whole of the northwest Scottish border, and also at St Ives Bay, which we actually discussed quite a bit in the previous talk we did with each other. So.
Right.
The two dragons are meant to be the dragons that guard the land, and the legends speak of them in multiple places. This one in particular is underneath Blencathra. How true and what exactly it means is to be discovered, but we know that there is obviously a ley line or an energy line going through the area because of Castle Rig. The stone circle is not there by chance, and so there's going to be some sort of truth to this, depending on what it is. But it's all a mystery at the moment. Will we ever know? But that's for us to discover. Exactly.
And it's the actual journey itself to discover. That's what is really important. The destination of knowing is not, it doesn't really matter. It's the journey along that sort of helps us grow, I think, with the experience. I'm fascinated with that area. I know that there was definitely a battle with King Arthur and the Saxons, because it was on a TV show that I just happened to walk past. I might have mentioned that already. And this idea of, going off during the winter without the heater, that should be okay, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it should be okay. It depends on if it goes to the -3 like it did the other week, where it went cold inside the van as well. So it should be okay. But I've always got like the cooker and stuff that you can put on for a little bit. But we'll see if I can get the heater before then, maybe. But a part of me is like, do I really need it? And if I'm going to head south, and maybe not, I don't know. Maybe I do.
Yeah, I mean, I would get it anyway, just in case, because sometimes you could come across those really cold nights, and it's you might have the fire going up to a certain point, say if you have a fire outdoors, but just in case, I would get it. And in terms of going up to Winter Hill now and doing this Zodiac capture, whereabout would you sort of head towards? Because I know we've got this idea of where Winter Hill is, and there's a car park just below the Pigeon Tower area. Mm-hmm. You could probably park up there, and I'm sure you could stay there for a few days. But in terms of the Zodiac itself, if we go up to the top of Winter Hill, is it going to be visible to sort of see where the Zodiacs are if we follow a map? Is that right?
Maybe with the drone, perhaps, not with the naked eye, though. I doubt. But we'll have to head to Anglesark Moor, where he's said to emanate the ley lines. And, all the ley lines. Apparently, I've even heard that one of them even goes to Giza from there. And it's that many ley lines going through it. And so I don't know how far Anglesark Moor is from the Pigeon Tower. But because we really do need to explore that Anglesark area. Right. A friend of mine has given me some park ups around there, so we'll have to get directions off her maybe as well. Right.
Yes. Well, let's plan straight after this, and I'd say probably towards the end of the week should be a good idea to do that. We'll get this out obviously beforehand, but in terms of the drone, I'll be able to get a drone up there. Although I did just lose my drone recently, and I've just made a little video about that, and it's yet to come out. I'm still just editing it, and that's what I've been doing all weekend. And it was quite a horrific moment of losing my drone to the River Mersey of all places. So if you have a look on Adventures in Gonzo Vision, you will see soon a video pop up about me losing the drone. However, the journey ended with a happy ending. And I got a replacement within 24 hours, which was just now that's kind of the experience that you have where you kind of question, wait, what is reality sometimes? I sometimes feel like I'm in a simulation when there's so many coincidences and so many events happen that sort of give you confirmation of the path that you're on, the choices you've made that are more aligned to your actual your passion, really. I mean, I've found that doing content creation is actually my passion, but especially on the subject matters that I'm doing is I've had all these challenges along the way, like crashing drones, breaking GoPros, and in a very short time, they are replaced for quite a reasonable price, without
Yeah.
without any kind of real heartache. It's really strange. And this was another example. The drone got caught in the wind, lost a signal. Next minute, it's gone.
Yeah.
And I actually filmed with the GoPro my cathartic moment of expressing how upset I was about it. And that's a lot of the content itself. I cut down a lot of the negative stuff, but it just was an expression of like, oh dear. And then the end of it is going to be, actually, I got the drone back.
Yeah.
So quite an experience it was in those 24 hours. And what was interesting, I'm sure I'll be able to share this, but was that the price had 22 in it. Okay. The chap's name was James, and he was also 22. It was just this really, crazy synchronicity or coincidence, because you're 22, your name is James.
22, yeah.
And it was just, and he was local as well. This young lad was local, and I was able to just drive down, get it replaced, and he was a drone specialist as well.
Wow.
I'll plug his details. He's a drone specialist. So now we're able to go on this journey next week with the drone, because at one point I thought, how are we going to do this adventure to find the Zodiacs from Winter Hill without the drone? I mean, that's the key element, You
It is the key element, yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, we're going to be like, yeah, well, that could be aligned with that one. We're not too sure because we're not above it,
Wow.
Anyway, that's
see what we can discover on there, if we can discover anything, because obviously that's the only part in the documentary where I've just came across some research of a lady, and so we don't really know too much. So I want to discover things for ourselves.
Exactly. I mean, it's just the adventure. Let's go and find out. Let's go and explore this and see what happens. See what comes about. We might have nothing from it, but the experience of going
as well. The Zodiac is meant to be depicted in the land below in terms of like roads and little streams and all of that. So like you've got Leo in the shape of a lion in the land below. So the ancients have mirrored the land in terms of the skies above. So in case people don't know that.
That is cray, as they say. That's crazy, because like if that is the case, if we can see that or we find any evidence with that, that's quite remarkable. That's we have to really get looking into that. I mean, do we need I'm going to bring some maps. I've got some ordnance survey maps which are from the 1970s, so that might be helpful, because sometimes the more modern maps, when you're looking for some of these ancient locations, they might have been covered up by motorways, or they just might not be included because they're not relevant, to the modern living, I suppose. So I'll bring along some ordnance survey maps I've got of the whole country of from the 1970s. That will be helpful, and then I suppose we just use we'll confer with the maps on our phones and things like that. Really.
Yeah.
This is great. It's gonna be exciting, isn't it? Oh, I can't wait. So hopefully the weather's going to be good, because that's the other thing, is that the drone, what I noticed, the reason why I lost it is because it's actually one of the lighter drones, and it's it gets caught in the winds, and if the wind is too much, it's hard to come back. It's hard to fight the wind, so that's what happened. And anyway, I got the replacements. We're going to give it a try. But one of the things that I really love to do is go barefoot. I don't get to do it every day, but I go off to the Office of Tree Spirits, as you see behind me, and I just take off my shoes and walk around the area. Do you get to do that often? Is that are you able to do that every day, or is it just once a week or something?
No, so I try and incorporate that every day. So if I'm at home and it's literally the only place I can do it is like the garden, I'll just get 10 minutes, 15 minutes barefoot, just stood there. If I'm in the forest, maybe I'll take my shoes off for a bit of time, and that's the best. I love being surrounded by the trees, taking my shoes off there. But the best is the beach, when you're just walking barefoot on the beach. You go for a swim, come back out. That's why people feel so much better on holiday, because they're getting the sun, they're getting the sea, they're getting the barefoot, and yes, that is the best feelings, is that connection to the land, and because the connection to yourself it's like it is connection to self too, because you're connected to the earth, which is you. So you come from Mother Earth, you know, and everything is connected. So all is connected. You know, the divine is connected to the Mother Earth. The wind is connected to the water. All the elements are connected. The ancients understood this, and all the elements are in us. So we have to have a connection to our heart, which our heart is our connection to the higher self. Our feet are a connection to the earth. It's all this type of connection that we need to be understanding. It's all one.
Yes, yes. No, that makes sense. I mean, if we were sort of living with that perspective a lot more in the day, like, you know, without the attention that we usually give ourselves to, which is very material, very systematic, very necessary in terms of, you know, putting food on the table. At the end of the day, that's what everyone's just trying to do. But if we were giving attention to these areas more and more during the day, I bet we wouldn't need to go on a vacation.
No,
because the vacations would be coming in just those little moments of saying, no, you know what, I'm going to just take 20 minutes to go and just have my coffee out there, even though it's cold, and take my shoes off, you know, you know, and I think that's where the choices starts, is just those little moments of going, right, I'm not going to choose the easy option here, you know, and hence that going to get the water, it's not the easy option. You know, well, that's what we used to do a long time ago. We used to travel to the stream, to the water source, but now we just switch it on. Yeah. And now we can't, now I personally can't trust what's coming through that water. You know, doesn't matter I don't know who's bringing that water to me. You know, I'd rather go and get my water, you know.
Yes, yeah. You know where it's coming from if you go and get it.
Yeah. And there's a wonderful story. I think one of my uncles living out in South Africa, because I've got a family related to, you know, from South Africa. And I think they were telling me the story about why a village in Africa did not want their water source to be brought to them. And he couldn't understand it. They were like, no, we want to go and get it. Yeah. And I think he was, I don't know if it was my uncle or was a friend, or it was just a story I remembered going, now, why would they say no? And because we didn't have an answer at the time of the discussion, but it was later on, my thinking of it was, they want to be responsible to get their own water, and they know where the water is coming from. You know, that was the difference, you know. So, yeah, I think that's a very good approach to take. And in terms of, you know, just getting out more into nature, of all the places in the UK, especially in the Northwest, do you have a special place that you go to where you can just switch off and get away? Like I have my Office of Tree Spirits, and I have about 4 different places in Formby. Do you have a place in a place where you can get to easily, that you just are able to switch off and be with nature?
Yeah, so the closest place to me is just 5 minutes down. I've got a huge ancient forest left. This whole place used to be an ancient forest, but there's certain woodlands left. So we've got huge 800-year-old oak trees, ash trees, holly, stream running through the woods. I planted trees in there. Wow. It's my place to go if I want to really connect to nature barefoot. Yeah, it's incredible. The kingfishers there. There's all sorts of birds, everything. So yeah.
Kingfishers. Wow. Okay, that's fantastic. Is that the same place we went looking for the spring? Is that the area?
No, it isn't. It's on the other side of Penwitham.
Right. Okay. I'm still yet to do that part of the video in the adventures where we go and we visit yourself and you talk about your experience with the springs. We're still to get to that with the episode 3, and it will be at some point. But so the forest that you go to is quite nearby there.
It is nearby, yeah. There's a couple around it, because it all used to be one, but they've just separated it into different areas. So there's Grange Park, which is a huge ancient woodland still, and then there's one opposite the dual carriageway, which doesn't have a name, doesn't have a path through it. I've literally tried to create my own path through. So, yeah, it's beautiful.
There's something special about that, where you go to a place and you realize that there's nothing that's man-made, or nothing concrete, nothing metal, it's nothing plastic, it's all just nature. And because we're organic as well, you feel that immediate connection, or, you know, my vibration is always raised. I'm always a lot more excited, happy. You know, all my stresses of what I've been doing during the day seem to just dissipate, you know?
Yeah.
And one of the things I usually have is, from this tree to this tree is a hammock. this is actually my hammock space in the background here. So by having a hammock, I could pretty much go to any of these forests, put it up, and just sit, read a book, and you feel the movement in the forest. You feel like the trees will blow in the wind, but then the birds are singing, the birds are moving in the leaves or flapping their wings. There's bugs moving around, there's little rodents, and it's so alive. It's amazing. I really love that. So you have a good spot. Do you have a hammock, bro?
I bought one. Yeah.
You got a hammock?
I'm with me now.
Mate, I tell you what, when you get down to Manic Organic next time, give us a text, let us know, and I'll introduce you to the Office of Tree Spirits. It's just down the road,
Oh, I'm there tomorrow at Manic.
Oh yeah, right. Well, we'll just check the weather. We'll just see what it's like, because I haven't been for the last 2 weeks because I've been editing so much. So I'll probably make a visit as well, because I need to stock up on the sweet potatoes. The sweet potatoes from there are just amazing. They're like about this big, and I can live off them for like weeks, So yeah, we'll probably make a plan. I'd say that's a good idea, and then we'll go down to the Office of Tree Spirits. Bring your camera, bring your hammock, and if it's not raining, there's actually a spot where I think another hammock might be able to go. We'll see if it works out. It'll be a bit further down. It won't be in the same spot, but we'll just try them out.
Okay, brilliant. Yes. Yeah. You give me a text after. Yeah.
I'll see you next time at Manic Organic. So I just want to say goodbye to everyone. Thanks for watching at ARGV podcast, where we have James Caggianelli, and we're both going to be making videos, The Age of Albion and The Adventures in Gonzo Vision with Churches and Trees, episode 3 coming soon. Look out for our videos. Like and subscribe, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because it does help the algorithms, and it just helps us to try and get some kind of traction on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, so that we can maybe one day get this message out and engage with more of the experience of living in the moment. James, is there anything you want to say before you go?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for everyone for watching. And if you've not watched part 1 of this podcast, I recommend watching that. We talked about water in detail and my adventures in the van. That was over a 2-hour period. I think we did that podcast, so it's a long one. If you break it up into certain just certain periods, and we've got a lot of information in that podcast to do with ley lines and the Albion energy in the lands, and we talked in depth about all of that. So this is just a follow on. I'm sure we'll be doing more in the future, and yeah, just keep an eye on our 2 videos, our 2 channels. There's plenty of amazing content to come, inspiring content, and also amazing truth slowly being brought forward into the world, because this is the biggest collective consciousness shift ever. There's going to be distractions, but just stay true to your heart and you'll be fine.
Yes, stay centered, stay balanced, clear minds, full hearts. That's what I'd say, So we'll come back again and we'll elaborate more on all of these topics as we go along. Myself and James are doing different adventures with videos, but we will do podcasts every now and again. So stay tuned for the next one. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Thank you. See you later. Bye.
See you later.